Urbek City Builder tutorial. This video game is Urbek City Builder. I'm going to start on the upper left. The first thing you can do is you can rename your city, which is not that important. But I guess it could be important if you have a lot of cities. The game is very easy. You're probably only going to play one game, and that's it. You've got the menu over here. You're going to want to look at your options. Make sure you've got the edge scrolling turned on. I would put the maximum autosave time because it is a little bit annoying. And I did turn the music down. Over here you have the option to turn the interface off, which you're going to use if you want to take a photo. You have to remember to press U to turn it back on. Over here we have the layers. Not very useful. Obviously green is going to be residence. These gray are definitely buildings. We've got the mini map. The mini map is okay, but the problem is that you cannot click on the mini map and go where you want. And you can't even use the arrow key. You have to use the A, S, D, and W keys. The policies, I only turned on the forestry and one other policy. I didn't think they were that useful. The other one was a religious authority. And then you've got achievements, not that important. There's not a lot of achievements. And then the encyclopedia. I never looked at the encyclopedia. Over here you've got scores. For example, your population happiness. The score for the number of parks, sports, leisure, culture, self-organization, faith, pollution, and authority. This is your supply and production of goods. You've got food, your labor, your skilled labor, your high skilled labor. This is wood, which is used for construction. Iron is used when building something. Coal is used for energy. Energy is used by some of the larger buildings as electricity. Then you've got steel, which is used by bus stops and the subway. The goods are used for the supermarkets, hardware shops. Science is used for skilled workers, high skilled workers, comes from the universities. And then you've got biomass, which really isn't used in the game. The controls are decent. You can go fast forward, but it really doesn't go that much faster. If you use the fast forward, you're not going to see the buildings populate very quickly. So it's not that useful. This feature is not very useful. You can do the day mode or the night mode. I prefer to use the day mode. And you can pause the day mode if you want, or the night mode. So if you pause it, the timer doesn't advance throughout the day. So I leave it on day mode. I don't like games that have night mode and weather effects. So the building menu, you've got roads, a lot of bridges, bus stops, which are important. The subway station is important. The airport, you're going to build one. Security camera, not important. Checkpoint, not important. And the bicycle parking is very important. You want to make sure you leave room for bicycle parking. For the housing, you're going to want to use the one on the left. The one on the middle is not that good, this what they call the social building. You're going to use this in special areas, either on the edge of the map where a regular house can't grow, or maybe in the farm area where houses won't grow. The private community is not that useful. They're probably going to become abandoned. All of mine became abandoned because they have special needs and you're not going to pay attention. They'll become abandoned. So with farming, I'm going to scroll out to the farm area. You've got a field, which is the yellowish part. And then you've got the scarecrow. I'm going to show you that when I get to it. To get the scarecrow, you have to get the haunted house. Over here, you can see I have pumpkin fields, which means I have scarecrows in the middle of the fields. Gives you a little bit of extra production. The farmhouse is the basic farming house. The tenant house is all of these houses over here, and they do count as regular houses. So if something says you can't have a windmill next to a house, it includes the tenant house. It gives you better production. This gives you more production. The grain silo does, but also can cause some pollution. And then you've got the orchard, which are all these trees over here. The regular farmland uses something called a farm shed and a food plant. There's a food plant right here. And then the orchards use something called the fruit processor. And in order to place these down and to get the bonuses, they have to be built near a farmhouse, and you can only build one within a certain radius. So you got to be careful how you lay them down. I just laid them down the best that I wanted to. I'm not too serious about the game. So you've got a mini market and a supermarket to supply food. This is needed early in the game, but later in the game, when you get large buildings, you're not going to need it because large buildings have their own supermarkets. These buildings don't need the supermarkets. And the local market is from the farming area. The fish market is near the fishing docks. Neighborhood councils, so you're probably not going to care about that. The repair shop and the hardware shop is needed early in the game. Later in the game, the tall buildings will have their own hardware stores. City council, don't know what it does, and the association. There's a lot of these associations. They're not that useful. You're going to want to know that you see the supermarket. This consumes goods while the other one consumes food. You're probably going to produce a lot of goods easily. So you're going to want to use buildings that use goods and not ones that use food. You're going to be better off. There's a couple of police icons. They say that they reduce crime. It probably impacts happiness, but I don't see crime statistics anywhere in the game. Same with the fire station, not seen anywhere in the game. You're going to need clinics and hospitals. This is a hospital right here, the white building. You're going to need them in order to grow the taller buildings. You've got 4 different medical buildings. And then you have the food research center. These types of buildings are good for producing large quantities of food or electricity. You've got 2 types of banks, a shopping mall, the city hall, which doesn't do anything. And then there's a prison, which actually keeps residents, but it doesn't impact the game very much. And the radio station increases happiness, and the Ministry of Security I don't have yet. So for education, you've got the small school and the high school. You've got the university and all the university buildings. 3 or 4 of them can be upgraded. And one university, if you drop down the main campus, you can support 4 of each of every other building, as long as they're not within a radius of each other. I know I have an example. See over here, there's a athletic field. There's a university on the left that has a little tower. There's an athletic field, and then there's another university over here. That's just something I did for fun. I'm going to scroll over to the other universities. You see over here these shantytown buildings? This is because of pollution from the farmland. You can use your universities as a buffer between your buildings and the farmland so that so that buildings won't be impacted by pollution. Okay, I haven't found my other university, and I only want to spend so much time looking for it. This is an athletic stadium, the museum, and the shopping mall, all here in the middle. And over here, this tall building is one of the food research centers. So you want to upgrade the buildings. Be careful when you place them down. For example, I'm looking at Faculty of Philosophy. There's an advanced faculty. You have to plant 4 parks around it. So you got to be very careful about how you drop down the tiles. in order to take advantage of it. For industry, you've got the lumber camp and the lumberjack. You've got a water mill, which you put along the river in the water. The dock is for fishing. You've got iron mine, coal power plant, warehouses, the factory, which it doesn't get used very often. I never really use sawmills. That's what makes the biomass. And then the steel works you're going to need and the goods factory you're going to need. The issue with the iron is that there is a limited supply. Once you run out, you run out. Over here you can see my iron supply. It shows I've got 39,000 of 50,000. And I did run out of one of my iron pits. Once you run out, you're done. I think I'm going to finish the map before I run out. And when you run out, it's going to be catastrophic. You're going to have a lot of things start failing when you run out of iron. Over here with the advanced industry, it's a lot of coal and iron, and then you've got the biomass, which isn't that exciting. The particulate matter filter, which is an air filter, you really can't use that much because you can only place it next to the coal power plant. It doesn't help with other types of pollution. The windmills are okay. The solar power plants are just for fun. It's the nuclear power plant and the coal plant. Those are going to be the heavy-duty plants. This is a wind farm. It's not that pretty. I like the solar farms, but they take up a lot of space. You're really going to want those nuke plants. With the parks, I really just use the nice park. The square condominium, you'll see how it gets used in the game. It's not that interesting. The community garden is not that useful, but a lot of the parks are just not that useful. But you do want to look at the one that's called urban forest because it reduces pollution. So you can put that between your houses and your farms. And instead of getting those shanty towns, maybe you'll reduce some of the pollution. This is my big university probably. No, it's not. Because there would be 3 or 4 fields. Now for the nightlife, which is leisure and nightlife, you want to be careful because some of them consume food and some consume skilled workers. So you're going to want to make sure you pick carefully because you might not, like this one needs high skilled workers. You want to be careful about which one you select. With culture, you've got the museums and the bookstores. You're probably just going to use a regular library. And the museum's a little bit complicated. With sports, you're probably going to use the tennis court a lot for leisure. And then with the chapel, I don't have a lot of chapels in the game. You've got the button to delete and you've got the button to inspect a building. Over here on the lower right, you have tips, which I probably read one of them. When you click on a building, it's going to give you information about what it produces, what it stores, what it consumes every turn, what it needs in order to be built, and what it provides, and where you find it in the menu system. If you don't have enough to build something, it will put a message and it will say, you can't build this because you'll have a negative production of something. Okay, so that is most of the game. You can obviously turn this back on. And I like the game. It is a little difficult, and I'm going to explain why it's difficult. The reason why is because you're going to build a house, and then it's going to say you don't have enough food for people to live there. So then you're going to go build a farm, and then it's going to say you don't have anybody to work on the farm. And then you're going to be like, what? How do you do this? It's the base unit is the farm. The farm has to come first, and then you build the house. And if you run out with this game, you can just sit and do nothing and wait, and it will do a little bit of production, does a minimum amount of production, so that you can still continue playing the game. I do enjoy the game. This is the large map. I am going to tell you that after I finish, I'm probably never going to play it again because It's like a logic puzzle game. It's not a creative game where you can build anything wherever you want. Every piece can only be built adjacent to a similar piece or a place where it's needed. And if you remove it, the building will be completely abandoned. It doesn't downgrade. And you're going to have to do some stupid things like a shopping mall. You'll see you're going to have to build like 10 train stations to get your shopping mall running. So there's going to be a lot of weird things you're going to have to deal with. You're going to build a house that says you need food. You're going to go and build food, and it says you need energy, and then you're going to go build energy, and then you're going to forget where you built the house. So you're going to get lost and interrupted often. This is one of those games where you're constantly being interrupted and you constantly lose your place. Also, it grows, but it kind of grows a little slowly. Like this building looks like it could grow, and it says ready to upgrade all of these, but I'm going to have to wait a while. I didn't build these today. I built them a long time ago. These are still waiting to build also, and if you do fast forward, it's not going to really build that fast. In order to get the green on top of the buildings, you have to build a lot of parks. This is the type of park that you build, and you got to build like 20 or 30 of them in order to get the green buildings. And the green buildings aren't that great. So that's basically the game. There's no traffic. There's no people that they're not assigned to buildings. Employees don't go to work. As soon as you have the building, those employees are working at a place where they work. So it's an intermediate city builder. In terms of other city builders, I would recommend Transport Fever 2, and I recommend Banished. The SimCity games are okay. I like Cities XL. I like Cities in Motion 2. I would say Kingdoms and Castles, pretty good. If you want a challenging game, I would go for Banished. If you want a cutesy game, I would go with Kingdoms and Castles. This is an analytical, logical game. It's not for designers. So it's not going to be like SimCity or any of those other games. It's more about logic, which means that the game restricts you from placing a piece if the game thinks that the piece is not supposed to be played there. Okay, so that is my tutorial for Urbek City Builder. Go to my website, cheapbooks.cc, and go to the discussion forum, look at video games, city builders, and look at Urbek City Builder if you have any questions or you want to see any tips that I post. And you can go to cheapbooks.com to search for books and textbooks. Check in the links below for a link to Honeygain, which is a passive money earning app where you sell your CPU power and you act as a VPN for other companies or for other people so they can search anonymously. And you can earn money. The most I made was around $20 a month. And you can refer other people on your downline. And if you have any questions or comments, please post below. This was Urbek City Builder tutorial.